Hey YouTube, what's up? Coming at you with another video today. Today's topic, kind of want to get into and unpack a little bit, is continuous improvement. And continuous improvement is kind of a principle that I was acquainted with early on in my career, working in manufacturing for a brief period there. And really it's just one of the main tenets of 5S lean manufacturing. Think efficient, large-scale industrial processes. And the beauty of it is that it's something that isn't just limited to those large processes. It's something that really only improves as you continue to distill it down and refine it over and over again. And again, that's continuous improvement, continuously trying to refine our setup, our system, our process, how we go about doing things. And one of the cool parts is one of the best sustainable ways to do this isn't in these big grand pushes. It's just little things here and there. A new purchase, a new way that you're trying your organization, a different workflow pattern. Just these little tweaks that we make over and over again that sometimes work, sometimes don't. And when they do work, they kind of pay back dividends, and we gain that next step. We're that much closer to our objective each time we make one of these. We keep continuously improving. And so there's nothing big that I really acquired here, and it's not really about what I acquired recently so much as it is about this process of continuing to improve. So a few of the things that I wound up with this last weekend were we're in the cities doing some shopping. There was a Harbor Freight there, so you gotta stop in. This is one of those Harbor Freight trips I didn't really have a plan going in. Just wound up with a few odds and ends with sales. So that's where I ended up with this charger, battery, or charge strip there. I did end up going for the extractor set. That was like 50% off. I think it was like $35 for the whole extractor set. And trying something else out, just the new shop towels. Had been off and on running them just on the paper towel holder, on the rolls. It was a good deal and I needed more, so I figured I'd try it. Other thing that I wound up with that wasn't really a Harbor Freight thing and was similarly impulsive in my acquisition strategy for it was I was cruising eBay like some people do. Found a good deal on this side, DCS 312. Just the 12 volt reciprocating saw. And since I'm already pretty well bought in with the DeWalt 12 volt extreme stuff, I figured why not? It came with the saw there and the oil resistant 5 amp hour battery. Guy had to make me an offer, so I threw a low ball at him. $55. You can't beat that with a stick. So little bit different way of going about that, but what this sounds like doesn't necessarily sound like a well-planned, thought-through acquisition strategy. This is at best opportunistic, and really to a lot of people would probably look impulsive. And there's a certain amount of impulsivity necessary for that, but it's also about just being prepared to strike while the iron's hot and really just take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves. That's one way of going about continuous improvements. In previous videos I talked about looking at friction points, things that kind of clog up the works, things that just annoy you in your setup, something that could be a little bit different. And I think that's where going in and having switched all of my socket rails to the same system is something where there was an annoyance, there was a process issue, and making the decision to then, over a long period of time through multiple purchases, go about systematically converting all of my sockets over to that same system. That's a much more longitudinal approach, kind of finding that one thing that you're honing in on and going from there. And that has its benefits too, especially if you have a bigger goal or something along those lines. There's also planning around your future opportunities. So for me right now, one of the big things is my wrench drawer. There's this big gap here. Ultimately, I'd like to get a set of the ratcheting double box and like double flex head long reach style wrenches. Mostly because I think that fills the best gap in my system. Having conventional wrenches, 4-ways, and crow's feet, I have a lot of access opportunity and it all works. But there's a certain amount of convenience to having the ratcheting, and more importantly, there's an increase in efficiency from having that option. So it's something I'm kind of just now laying in wait for, instead of periodizing my purchases over a certain amount of time to ultimately wind up with everything complete. I'm simply leaving the space. I have the necessary organizers already purchased, already waiting, already allocated, just like the space. But what I haven't had was the right opportunity. The stars weren't aligned. Just having that perfect storm of the right sale that happens at the right time, where you've got the right disposable income in the right place, to be confident that you're making this purchase at about the most opportune time that you can, because it's not strictly necessary that you make that purchase. It would just be really nice, so it might as well be as nice as it can get. Then there's just the need-based purchase. I remember over in this box, one of my first days on the job, I had just the Merlin air gun. And every chainsaw that ever comes into a small engine shop is just absolutely filthy every time. So this is probably one of, if not the most used tool in my shop. And on my very first day, my cheap Harbor Freight blowgun completely blew up in my hands. Luckily, at the same time, the Matco truck was showing up, and I got acquainted with our driver, kind of made this as my preliminary purchase. I was investing in the tool itself for the long term. It wasn't necessarily the most beneficial financial decision. Could I have gotten it cheaper elsewhere? 100%. Could I have had other options that worked better? Yes. There was not the best reason on earth for me to purchase this gun, other than the fact that in that moment, I had 12 other things that needed to get serviced that day to be on track. All of them needed some kind of cleaning, either for diagnostics or just getting back to the customer. And the tool that I had no longer worked. This did work. It was available. It had some convenience in the payment plan and the backing of everything. So I went ahead and I got it. That's a different philosophy. So, which one's the best? Which one's right for you? I can't tell you. Hopefully, eventually, you can tell yourself. It might not be immediately apparent, and it might be a lot like me in that all of these things happen at different frequencies, happen at different intervals. You may end up naturally being predisposed to incredibly strict, regimented planning, spreadsheets, the whole 9 yards, allocating all of your funding exactly. You might be a slightly more impulse or need-driven purchaser. All of these are opportunities to understand how we go about continuously improving. Because that's what we're trying to do. We're not necessarily, especially at a certain point, just buying tools for the mechanic, for the craftsman, for the builder that we are. We're also investing in these systems to try and continuously improve towards becoming the mechanic, the builder, the craftsman that we want to become. So that's kind of the end goal of continuous improvement, is that that loop stays open, that you are continuously seeking to, in some way, improve in your system, in your setup. And that can take a lot of different forms. So, once again, saying a lot to say a little. If you like what you see, like, subscribe, comment down below. Just let me know if there was something in here that, at least one thing, that if you made it this far, you hadn't thought of in a certain way. Just let me know. But that's it for this one. I'll see you all in the next one.